I got let go of my job today. I only got this job about a month ago, and they didn't really tell me about this probation period that they were having. I worked at a pizza place, and it was more of a corporate one, so I was excited about that because my previous job was a family-run business, and a lot of the checks would bounce, or I wouldn't get paid on time, or I get overworked. So having this job opportunity was very exciting. I had put on about 70, 80 applications in my town and called all of those places up, went in person, tried to get an interview. And I found no success at all. I didn't get a single interview until this one pizza place. So I ended up getting hired. I did pretty good at the interview. And, they're a place that's they're very, like, you have to use the portions correctly, which to the best of my ability and what they trained me in, that's what I tried to do. And eventually, after 30 days goes by, right after my birthday, my next shift, I go in, and immediately my manager says, "Here, let's go to the office." And so I sit down, and he pulls out this 30-day review probation sheet, which I didn't have any clue about. Right? So basically what happens is his opinion and the opinion of the other people working there, all my coworkers, it all gets written down on a checklist, and you need 9 out of 9 or 9 out of 10 to pass to continue working there. So what ends up happening, even though I work so hard to get a job, I applied to so many places, and after months, I finally got this job. And I spend my time, I work very hard there. I feel pretty isolated there. I don't really relate to a lot of my coworkers and stuff. But that's besides the point. So, sitting down, what ends up happening is he starts reading out this list, and he's like, this is pretty good, showed up late, only on like your first shift, and you didn't show up late after that, so I still mark you for that, but that's okay. And basically, his opinion on me was all good. Everyone said I had a positive attitude. But one person, even though I stuck to the exact things to do and what they trained me in, people were saying I couldn't listen to. People said I couldn't listen to like directions the first time or immediately when they're given to me, which that is kind of a part of me. I can see that, but while I worked there, I put in more effort and I tried to follow directions, but apparently that still wasn't enough. So trying my best still wasn't enough. So bam, mark off there. And then there was another one. I forget exactly what it was, but only one person out of all the people that work there's only like 7 people that work at this location. Only one person said something bad about me, and since they said that, their opinion, that's what kind of got me. So I ended up scoring like a pretty low score. There's a few other things, but like I was all groomed, had a positive attitude. I genuinely tried my best at this workplace. I took people's shifts. I didn't call it a single time in this 30-day period. I worked a lot. I took so many people's shifts. But I still ended up getting fired. And then I'm on my way home, and he calls me, "Hey, I have one more thing for you to sign." So I had to spend all the way back. I get back to the store. I already see my replacement. Wow. Great, dude. That makes me feel amazing. I don't know. The job market just really sucks for people my age, and I really want to go out the entrepreneurial route, but I'll explain that more in a minute. But yeah, this job market is first-hand experience. It's just so fucked, Anyways, I guess kind of what I want to get into is like, yeah, that made me feel like, wow, I really tried my best. I spent so much time. It was like I was working a job to find a job, but without the pay. And then when I finally did, and I put my best effort into it, I made an attempt to be social and be an easy person to work with and talk to. that wasn't enough. I'm not enough is basically what I'm feeling, and deep down in my gut, that feels like shit, you know. So, you know, I was already planning. I've spoken about this in a few other videos on moving to Texas for a little bit, and so kind of what this did. Some people might think I'm stupid for it, but I had this shitty feeling in my stomach. I was really upset with it. But I just decided, you know what? I'm going to fly to Texas now. I got my checks from there, no longer associated or affiliated with them at this job. Fuck it, I'm going to fly to Texas, right? So I booked the ticket. I'm flying literally tomorrow, and I'm going to be in Texas. It's going to be crazy. I kind of guess, like, what I want to talk about was, I don't know if that's like a stupid choice. You know, I feel like a lot of people before they make these big decisions, they probably feel the same way I do. Is this going to be stupid? Am I going to waste my summer? Well, what's really happening here? You know, but I feel like I've kind of been stuck for a while, like pretty stagnant, and I feel like just the spontaneity of it, and it's just a huge risk, you know, but it might work out. Who knows? You know, it's better than not moving at all and just spending my summer in the same way that I have been for years. You know, I'm going out, I just turned 18, I finally have this freedom, and I'm choosing to do something with it. So it could be really good, but it could also do nothing. You know, I feel like it really depends on me. But all I know is I'm going to be putting myself in a better environment to make more connections and to have a higher chance of being successful and working with people as ambitious as I am. So that's what's good about it. But what kind of feels off is I feel like because I got fired was the reason I booked the flight so early. And I'm not saying it's the reason I booked the flight, but it had like a high, like that, the emotion build up like in me is what made me do it. I was staring at the pay button right there. I was staring at it for a minute. And then in my mind, like I was feeling like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then I just screamed at myself, fuck it. And I double clicked and, you know, the Apple Pay went through. And I was just like, fuck it. And then I just had kind of a weird feeling all day. It's like I'm leaving all this structure, all this stability that I have behind my back right now behind. And, you know, I'm kind of going bare bones into the deep end. I'm going into the real world. And it was just on a moment's notice, just fuck it. You know what I mean? So I guess that kind of feels weird, but I guess it's something I don't know if I'm going to regret it or not, but it's better than what I've been doing. You know, I've just been doing a lot of the same thing over and over for this past like half year, which is a whole lot of nothing, you know, just trying to search for a job and then, you know, just doing music from time to time and hanging out with the wrong people, doing the wrong things, just trying to fill time. I'm not really using the time to my advantage. I'm just trying to fill time, you know, to kind of like cope with like I'm alive. I don't want to make this video too philosophical, but I just kind of want to kind of log it, you know, just to have in like the archives, and, you know, people can just follow along with kind of what I'm doing in life. And, you know, I'd like to share that, you know, just kind of how I'm feeling, how my life's going. And people can either choose to tune in or not tune in. I don't really care. If you do support me, then I am really grateful, you know, but if not, it's all good. The conclusion of the video, I guess, is the job market's fucked. I don't really know what the fuck I'm gonna do. I feel like that's pretty relatable to a lot of people that just got out of high school, and it's like you're just looking at all the statistics, and it's like you have a better chance of getting hired now, and your odds are still really low than if you were to go to college, and, you know, like you graduate college, it's even harder to get a job, you know, like just looking statistically, it feels like our generation, it just feels impossible to survive on your own. You know, it feels impossible just to, like, to do some things that, like, you know, our parents could do in the past, and it wasn't as much for them. You know, it's just, this economy is just so rough and it causes so much stress for so many people, including myself. So I guess while I have no limitations right now, especially like living expenses, traveling expenses, food expenses, all that for me is going to be covered for a while. I have time to make mistakes, and I'm going to go see if what I'm about to do is going to be a mistake or something that'll help build my life and my career, help step up, get me up the steps. I want to start doing something with my life. I'm 18, and it's like it's time to start doing something.